Yeah, Ariel, certainly a serious situation. And the problem here being this is a lot of flooding taking place in very populated areas of southern New Hampshire. So we want to get you caught up on the flooding situation, but also the severe thunderstorm situation. We have a pair of flash flood warnings out now, one of them including the greater Manchester area until 3:45 today, and another one for the seacoast. In fact, right below Jackie and I, that's actually a live view of Hampton Beach right now, where the rain is falling at a very, very intense clip. Let's start you off at the seacoast. Again, that flash flood warning continuing until 3:45. We've had numerous slow-moving downpours and thunderstorms kind of working over the same areas, and that's a lot of water in a very short amount of time. This is a look at the radar rainfall estimates here over the past hour from, say, Rye into Northampton and Hampton, and the radar indicating in several locations about 2 inches of rain has fallen there in just the past hour. Again, a lot of water and really nowhere to go, so it piles up very quickly on roadways and sidewalks and makes travel very, very difficult. Still raining in Manchester, but not nearly as heavy as it was about 90 minutes ago. Still, a flash flood warning continues for that area, as well as Bedford, Auburn, and Chester until 3:45. And a similar story here, radar estimates anywhere between 1 and 3 inches of rain in the past hour and a half to 2 hours, and that has created some really serious problems in downtown Manchester. These reports are about an hour old, and it seems like the situation is improving greatly, which is good news. This report coming in just before 1 o'clock from Beach Street, where Manchester Fire reported a vehicle stuck in floodwaters and the water there about 3 feet deep. And then in another part of the city on Amherst Street, 2 vehicles trapped in floodwaters. Even though the rainfall has greatly improved in that part of the state, still some very, very difficult travel conditions possible all the way until 3:45 today, when that flash flood warning is set to expire. So that's the situation in southern New Hampshire. But Jackie, we have some severe weather taking place in other parts of the state too.
Right, yeah. As you head north in the state across parts of Coos County, we actually had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. And one of those warnings, the one that had been issued first, has now been allowed to expire here. It has just ended. We did have 2 of these orange boxes with warnings in Coos County. Now we only have the one. So we'll go ahead and pause this here. And you can see there's a lot of heavy rainfall within these thunderstorms as well. Those reds and the pinks that you're seeing there on the screen indicating very, very heavy rain. And as we zoom in a little closer up towards Colebrook, where we're seeing some of that heavy rain still, that's where that first thunderstorm warning was. But now we have this severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 3 o'clock. And this is for some strong winds, gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible. And also with this warning, quarter-sized hail. So not only are we talking about the heavy rainfall threat and the flooding threat in parts of the state today, but with these severe thunderstorms, we're also getting those strong, potentially damaging winds and some hail in areas as well, and just a massive amount of rainfall coming down from this particular cell. That pink there indicating very heavy rain. If I go ahead and click on this here, I should be able to see that the rainfall rates are upwards of 5 in some instances, 5 inches an hour in some spots. So with this kind of just sitting stationary and slowly just shifting back and forth, we're not really getting this rainfall to move. So there could be potentially some localized flooding concerns in this area as well. But for now, we're just talking about a severe thunderstorm warning between Odell and Stratford. And this again goes until 3 o'clock for this cell here, producing a lot of lightning, those strong winds of 60 miles per hour, and the potential for quarter-sized hail. So not only do we have the flooding issues in southern parts of the state, but we have heavy rainfall and thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms in northern parts of the state. This little box here just over the border in parts of Vermont is a flash flood warning. So the heavy rainfall with these storms in Coos County may also lead to some flooding concerns. We haven't seen any specific reports yet. I haven't seen anything yet from up north, but we'll keep an eye on that, of course, in case anything is to come that way.
Yeah, and you know, obviously it's been very, very humid the past several days, right? We've been talking about a lot of this tropical humidity in place. We're sort of treating the atmosphere today like a sponge, and we're just kind of wringing out all of that moisture. It's coming out in these downpours and thunderstorms, and they're not moving all that fast, only at about 15 or 20 miles per hour. So as long as they sit over some select areas, they will just continue to drop very, very heavy rainfall over the next several hours. And that is the concern up in Coos County. Of course, that's a part of the state that has seen a lot of rain through the month of July and into the first couple days of August now. So it's not going to take much to trigger flash flooding concerns up north, and certainly the concern being in southern New Hampshire right now. So we want to send things back over to Ariel now, because she has more information about the flooding situation going on along the seacoast. Ariel.